Hey everybody, Pat Fenner here with You Can Homeschool podcast. And today I have a really fun treat. You're going to love this. Tracy's taking the week off, and in her stead, I am interviewing Jed and Jenny Jurchenko. I've known Jed for a bunch of years. Their website is Coffee Shop Conversations. Is that still correct, Jed?
We are now at I Thrive 320. So did a complete rebranding and overhaul.
That's really fun because when we met, ours was Coffee and Conversation, and we rebranded too. So we're no longer with the coffee thing. That's how we met years ago. Jed and Jenny are the parents of 4 amazing kids. Jed's a therapist and a coach, and Jenny is a social worker extraordinaire. Through their writing and speaking, Jed and Jen have helped over 100,000 couples take small, positive actions to grow their closest relationships. In their free time, you'll find Jed and Jen camping, barbecuing, relaxing at the nearest beach, and simply enjoying life together. You can find out more about them at ithrive320.com, but I will put the link in the show notes so you can have it there. I do have to say, I am a little curious, guys. You live in Minnesota. Where's the nearest beach?
Yeah, and so that was like news to me. I had to learn this when I came to Minnesota, because Minnesotans mean something entirely different when they say the word beach.
Oh.
I'd hear people say, let's go to the beach. And I'm like, yes, love the beach. What's a lake beach?
Oh, okay. Well, that's
it's not that much of a letdown. I mean, it's still really fun.
Yes, well, yes, you're right. And everybody's different. We've got, you can have fun in different places. I grew up on the coast, though, the East Coast. So beach to me has got a whole different vibe. And anyway, okay, that was just to satisfy my curiosity. Thank you for that. All right, actually, what we're here today to talk about is not the beach. We're just we're going to be talking about the topic today is keeping the lines of communication open in families. And of course, during this pandemic season that we're in, recording this, and of course, you'll be listening to this in, many families find themselves together a lot. And so one might ask, well, what challenges could you have? Because we're all together 24/7, but that in itself poses some challenges, doesn't it? So you're the professionals. What do you see as like the biggest challenge for families in terms of communication?
Yeah, here's what's fun. We actually asked couples this question right at the start of the pandemic. We asked, and I think it was about 150 surveys that we got back.
Wow.
Where we asked couples, what's that biggest challenge or that biggest barrier in your relationship? Mm-hmm. We noticed this theme that came up over and over and over again. Couples said, we're busy, we're working, we're going nonstop. And you had mentioned with the pandemic, there's a lot of changes, some job changes, some school changes. So for some families, they got physically busier because all of a sudden their kiddos are home. They're not going to physical school, but doing virtual school. And that just takes like a whole new level. Kind of got a taste of homeschool in there because there are more dishes, more laundry, more vacuuming, more just of everything when kids are home all day. And then the other piece is the mental noise.
Yeah. And I think that was a big thing. It's interesting because I think even in our own lives, like our calendar got clear. Actually, we still have our calendars hanging up where we kind of had our system for keeping everyone on track. Because when the pandemic hit, we also had 2 bonus daughters. So we had 8 of us here at home. And so we had our system. We knew how to get people where they were supposed to be. Communication was probably a big strength of ours at the time. And now those same calendars are still there from the time that we got sent home in March. They haven't changed. Still those calendars. And somehow, even though our calendar cleared, our communication just disintegrated. That we were missing the very few things that we did have on our calendar because we were no longer like talking about them, because all the mental noise, all the busy, a different kind of busy that we hadn't really practiced. We weren't experienced at how to manage that type of busy.
And so we really, I guess it went because that's always been a theme that I've been aware of. We're so busy, our culture's busy, kids are doing this and parents are doing this, blah, blah, blah. But so it was just a new kind of busy. I guess it's more intense because we might not have had places to go to, because things were locked down, but we had, adults who were working from home. So trying to bring the office to the house and the school to the house. Most of us didn't get a bigger house, or more help. We still had to cope with that. So yeah, so being busy, that's kind of interesting that that still was an issue, but it just kind of morphed how it looked differently. So you are my go-to people. What would you encourage some of our listeners to do to combat that? Because that seems to be becoming the new norm. I mean, there's a lot of schools that are still not open. There are a lot of families who are choosing, even when they are open, to maybe just keep their kids home anyway for whatever reason. And a lot of parents are still working from home. So how do we not disintegrate in terms of communication? What can we do?
So I've got a fun answer for this.
Oh, fun, good.
I wrote notes, and what I wrote is kind of the boring answer, the develop a connection habit. All right, but here's the twist for today. It is National Croissant Day. And you and I have a mutual friend who wrote this book. Oh, you got your coffee. And it's called Croissants versus Bagels. And we got to do a little twist on this for couples. So bagels are round and they're closed. And sometimes in relationships, we get into that closedness. Somebody reaches out and we're busy. So we're just closed off, too rushed to connect. Croissants, in honor of National Croissant Day, are open. I picture somebody standing out there, arms wide open. And that's what developing this connection habit is all about. It's being open to conversation, open to finding tiny moments of joy, open to connecting each and every day, even if it's just for a couple seconds.
I remember you mentioning something to me once, and this was, I don't remember if it was before the pandemic or whatever. You, for those of you who are not familiar with Jed, he's a prolific author, really good books, very practical for families. I'll put some links below I'll put a link to his Amazon author page and you can just look through them. But one of the things you mentioned is that you write in the mornings, or you had that habit of writing in the mornings. And do you remember this conversation a little bit about how you changed your habit of writing in the morning a little bit so that you could be more open to connecting with Jen?
I do. And I was having this conversation with my friend Greg, and he said, Jed, you got to tell this story. And he said, I'll tell the story about the time I failed. You tell the story about the time you were the hero and won. And I looked at Greg and said, yes, I knocked it out of the park. And it only took me 3 years to do that.
Well, that gives the rest of us hope. But anyway.
And it was Jenny coming to me saying, Jed, I love that you write all of these books. But when you do, you go into your bubble. And I did, with 4 to 6 kiddos, because we've been foster parents off and on, and owner of a crazy cat who loves to walk across the keyboard. The only way to write was literally to go into that bubble and tune everything else out.
Right.
I could have our 4-year-old tugging at my pant leg and I'm in the zone. I'm going to finish the sentence. But then Jenny would come down and I am still in the zone. I'm going to finish this sentence. And it did. It took 3 years for it to click and connect of, man, I've got to figure out how to get out of that bubble. So for me, the connection habit was, first time I see Jenny in the morning, I'm going to close my laptop. We're going to take a minute to connect. Don't always get it perfect. There's been a couple days where I'm still in my zone.
It's hard, yeah.
I'm closer. And so finding those ways to, again, be that croissant, be open to connection, open to just finding tiny moments of joy together. What would you add to that?
Yeah, I think we also started kind of identifying spaces too. So we have, our office is our workspace sometimes. And for Jed, because he wakes up so early in the morning, he kind of has his spot where he writes in the morning, and that's kind of a work spot for that part of the day. But at other times, there's workplaces and then there's family places. And I think we had learned this from a good friend, and it was really helpful for us about really defining. So if you're working, but it's at the dining room table in the middle of all the family stuff that is happening, then people are, that indicates kind of to us that this is family time. But for Jed, that was frustrating because he was trying to work,
Right.
So getting really clear about spaces in our home, and what their intention, what their purpose was, times of day, even then, kids aren't always the best with spaces either. So often, when we had this office and we kind of set that as a workspace, that didn't matter much to the kids. They just kind of opened, and it was like, hey, how are you? Right in the middle of, recording something live. It's like, yes, here we go. So getting good too about giving them visuals. This is work time. Here's your job. When the door is open, that indicates you can come in, those kind of things, to really communicate with them too what expectations are right now, and what space are we in? Are we in workspace or are we in family time kind of space?
Good. That's good. I just want to mention, if you are enjoying this video right now, we are recording a interview with Jed and Jenny Jurchenko for the You Can Homeschool podcast. If you'd like to listen to the rest of this interview, which was phenomenal, I'll leave the link in the description below, and please head over to the You Can Homeschool podcast, rate, review, subscribe, follow, like, share, all that fun stuff too. We'd sure appreciate it.